Is the Volvo turbocharged? Weird.
What's up, guys? It's Drifts and Lifts here, and welcome back to the Drifts and Lifts Epic Volvo Drift YouTube channel. If you're new to the channel, please click the subscribe button and make sure you turn on notifications, which is the bell beside the subscribe button. So I'm going to try to keep things interesting for you guys. Today, we are going to make this car look a lot better. So this is Lawrence. Lawrence is, I've been doing a little bit of work, as you guys have seen in the last couple videos. We did some weight reduction. We took out all the AC, all that kind of thing. I did the sunroof delete up on the top here, as well as the carpet delete. So we took all the carpet out. And actually, I'll probably get to this in another video, but I did start to find some rust on this car. So down here, there is a little bit of rust in the floorboards. Not a crazy amount, but you know, I'm gonna have to deal with that at some point in time, but we're not going to worry about it for now. Today we're going to put cool wheels, get this thing a little bit lower, and we're going to have to roll the fenders because the wheels are so wide. And to run these wheels, because they're a different bolt pattern, I have to run adapter spacers, which is cool because I like that wide look, but you know, you got to do some work on the fenders because they're not going to fit once you get it low. You're going to start rubbing your fender pretty bad. So here's the wheels that I'm going to be installing today. These are they're center lines, so it's a 15 by 8 wheel, so it's 8 inches wide. I believe the offset is right at 0, so it's not crazy like some of the other wheels I've ran in the past, like these ones. These are the Bassett like NASCAR Steelies, and those ones actually had -25 offset. You guys might remember those from Miss Huff. They stuck out really far. These are going to be a little more mild, but they're still going to be pretty badass. I really like the look of this wheel. Once you polish up the aluminum, it actually looks really good. So yeah, what I'm going to start by doing, this car has lowering springs as well as Bilstein shocks on it already. They're fairly old, mind you, but they're still doing the job for sure. So what we're going to have to do, because as you guys can see, the ride height is still, with every lowering spring that I've ever installed in one of these cars, the ride height is never exactly where I want it. I like my cars to be pretty low. If I want it to look dope, you got to be pretty low, you know. That's pretty low, you know. It's got the flow and the turbo. Yeah. So, anyways, we're gonna cut probably one coil out of the front here, and I'm not too sure about the back yet. The back does actually look a little lower to me, so I might just leave it for now. I haven't really decided yet. Okay, so what I'm gonna do first, guys, I'm gonna jack it up. I think I'm gonna start with cutting the springs. Alright. Alrighty, so what we're gonna do here, I believe I'm gonna start with one coil, and then I'm gonna test the ride height, and then from there we will see if I like it. If I want to do another coil, then we can. I found another rust hole right here, so I'm not too stoked about that. It's a pretty big one. So this car isn't as clean as I thought it was, but that's not a problem. I'm still gonna go ahead and have some fun with it and mess with it and that kind of thing. I put a bunch of rust spray all over that area. I found a couple more in the bottom. So unfortunately, Lawrence isn't as clean as I thought it would. It does have some rust, but it's not so bad. It's not like the A tractor had, if you guys remember back in the day. That thing had like the whole floor was rusted out. I could poke holes everywhere. So this is still savable. What we're gonna do, we're gonna count the coil. So here's coil number 1. Cutting off right here would be 1 coil. Cutting right there would be 2 coils. I kind of have a feeling that 2 coils is actually going to be the trick to this. And listen, I'm probably going to get a lot of, you know, some people in the comments saying, oh my god, why are you cutting your springs, this and that. I've said this many times before. I've cut springs on these cars tons of times, and as long as your shocks are good and the spring is seated in there properly, I've never had a problem. I've taken my cars with cut springs to the track. I've done some pretty crazy drifting stunts with in cars with cut springs, so it's not an issue to me. As long as your bushings and everything and your shocks are in good shape, it's still gonna ride pretty good. So here's what we're gonna do. Yeah, let's go 1 coil right off the bat, and then we'll see how we like it, and maybe we'll do 2 after. Okay, sorry I didn't film that, guys. I had no way to set up my camera. I really need to get a tripod or something here. So I took a chance. I went 2 springs right off the bat. So they're kind of hanging out in here now. How you do it is you just take the piece that you cut out and you cut that one more time, and then the pieces will fall out. So a little bit of a pain, but it's really not too bad. As you guys can see though, there's definitely dangers of cutting the spring in the car. I don't recommend it. I'm just doing this so I don't have to spend my whole time pulling that out and taking. I actually don't even have a socket big enough to take the top hat off so I can get the spring out. So this is kind of the quick way to do it, but it's definitely dangerous because as you can see, my grinder disc blade broke as soon as the spring snapped. This can explode too, so it's definitely not the best way to do it. I don't recommend it, like I said, but you know, we're just doing that for now because I want to get this thing looking dope. All right, so I just cut the piece that I cut off, and then I cut that piece in half, and these kind of I just wiggled them out of there, spun them around a couple times, and they just fell out. So if you look up here now, the spring is now seated. If you go over like a crazy bump or something, if you jump your car, the spring could unseat, which isn't what you want, but I'm not planning on doing any jumps in this car, so we should be good. What I'm gonna do now, guys, is put the wheel on. So I'm gonna put the spacer on and test fit the wheel, and we're gonna lower down the jack and see what ride height we're sitting at. We're gonna see how much I need to roll this fender out, and we're gonna see kind of what the offset looks like. Usually I put the wheel on after I do the fender rolling, but this time I want to get it like the fitment just perfect. I don't want to over roll the fender if I don't need to. So we're gonna kind of gauge how much we need to come out and judge how hard and how much we're gonna hit this based off that. Now we're talking. All right, so, oh, these wheels are gonna look sick on this thing. Pretty big tire profile, but that's all I really had laying around. Those are 195/60 15. A little bigger than I'd like, but they should work once we get it on the ground. So they stick out a good ways. I'm definitely gonna have to pull that fender a fair amount. All right, let's drop it down here and see what we're working with. Okay, so 2 springs was actually just perfect. There's even still a little bit of fender gap. So that's awesome. I'm kind of digging that. We'll leave it at that for now as far as springs go. So as you can see though, I'm definitely gonna have to roll this fender out because as soon as I go over a bump, this tread's gonna hit there, and that's gonna, like, you know, bite into the tire. It could rip it, that kind of thing. So time to roll some fenders. All right, guys. So you've probably seen me roll my fenders before, but I've never really used a heat gun. Most of the cars I do it on are a little ratty around the edges, and they end up being beer can missiles in the end. But this car I want to keep clean, so I have a heat gun over here. I'm just waiting for my boy Turbo Scott, and what he's gonna do is hold the heat gun and really kind of get that fender nice and warm. So as I'm rolling it, the paint can actually, when the paint's nice and warm, it won't crack and it won't rip off. So he's just gonna kind of go back and forth as I roll the fender, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping I don't wreck the paint because the paint on this car is really nice. All right, so Turbo Scott has not showed up yet, so I'm just gonna start this by myself. All right, so I got my heat gun hooked up here. How I think I'm gonna go about it is kind of just slowly warm up the whole fender and do it as I go. Actually, one thing I should mention, if you're rolling fenders on these cars, what I often do is I take a screwdriver and I just run it along here because there's a lot of dirt usually trapped up in there, and you don't want, when you roll the fender up, you don't want it to pinch all the dirt inside there, because then it's going to hold water. It can start to rust out your fender. So just make sure it's all clean so it can fold up in there nicely. All right, so here's the hammer that I use. This is the mallet that I've used for I've owned this mallet for like 5 years now. I've used it to roll all my fenders. It's obviously metal, so you want to take it a little bit easy, but yeah, what I've noticed is the rubber mallets usually don't have enough force to be able to bend this nicely. Maybe the front fender, but once you get to the rear, that's double plated, so it's a whole lot harder to bend that up. I'm definitely going to need Turbo Scott for that side, unless I really take my time. But yeah, so that's kind of the plan right now, is I'm just going to heat it up and take my time, and it should go all right. All right, I think you guys are gonna be proud of me for this one. So as you can see, no paint chips, just a very small one on the bottom here, but that's fine. Can't see it. So if you look, see how it's all rolled up in there? So I actually had to beat this part as well, just to get a bit more ride height clearance in case like the wheel, you know, go over a really deep bump or something like that. But as you can see, the fender lip is all rolled up into here. So that's what we were aiming for, because when the tire goes down, it's going to be scraping right in here. So I'm going to do another test fit. I'm going to drop it down on the ground, and we're going to see how it all fits. And then for next side, this kind of gives me an idea how far I should go. All right, moment of truth right here. So let's drop her down. Nice, perfect. Yep. All right, as you guys can see, the tire is right in line with the fender, but once so the tread is actually inside here, which is all we're asking for. There can be a little bit of poke, obviously, outside of here with the rim, but because this is a stretch tire, what really matters is that the tread is tucked under here. So when I go over a bump, that's gonna compress down like that, and we're not gonna get any rubbing. So if I take a look back here, that looks really good. Yeah, perfect. It's not completely slammed. There's still a bit of ride height, but that's kind of what I was going for, because this is going to be a driving car. You know, I'm going to drive it on the daily. So, and you know what? I probably will drive this sometimes in the winter. I'm going to put insurance on it today, so we're going to see how it goes. So I'm going to replicate this on the other side, and then we're going to get to the back, and I'll show you guys how that's done. Alright guys, I'm back from messing around for a bit. I had to go get a tire put on. It started to slip up on me, so I was leaking air. Alright, so I just got back now. What I did is I cut 2 springs off the rear springs, just because I figured it'd probably even it out with the front. Taking a second look at it, it looked like it was going to be a little too high for my liking. So what I did is I cut 2 springs off the back. It's not a big deal, and the backs are a lot easier than the fronts because the springs aren't under tension. Well, at least these lowering springs weren't, so it's not dangerous. Like grinder disc is a lot less likely to explode in your face and that kind of thing. So okay, I got it at the ride height. I think I want it. So now is the hard part. I'm going to be rolling these rear fenders. So I'm going to get my heat gun ready, and I'm going to warm this up. Now, one thing I noticed is if we go over to this side, this so this fender has actually been repaired at one point. So I remember Lawrence telling me this. I'm hoping there's not a bunch of Bondo, and I hope it's not going to crack and get really gross once I beat this up. I guess we'll see, because there's no other option really. I can't just leave it like that, or else it's going to puncture a hole in the tire when I drive. So we'll do our best. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to do the absolute bare minimum as far as rolling goes, just enough so these wheels don't rub, and then we'll probably leave it at that. So I'm gonna get that done, and then I'll show you guys what this thing looks like. Alright guys, so it is the next day. Sorry I cut the video a little short last night. It was getting a little dark, I was just over it. So I finished her off. This is the result. So we got Lawrence. It's got wheels, it's got spacers, the fenders are rolled, and it is looking fly AF. So here, we'll take a little look at this. I got the front fender. If you look at that, I did it perfectly. This fender actually turned out really good. So it's got a good enough roll. This lip's all rolled in. I'm not getting any rubbing from the tire, which is awesome. And the only tiny little paint crack I got is right there. So overall, pretty damn good compared to what I usually do. You guys have probably seen some of my botched fender rolls in the past. So if we go over to this side, same kind of deal. Did pretty darn good. Isn't really any cracking, maybe a small bit right there. But yeah, this side is good as well. So as we went to the back, the thing about the back is the rear is actually double plated. So it's a lot harder to roll. You got to give a lot more effort. So as I was rolling this, I remembered that Lawrence, the guy I bought it off of, actually, he He reminded me that he had some work done on this. He was in an accident, so unfortunately there's a bunch of Bondo. As you can see, Bondo does not roll that great. I had the heat gun all in it, but you know, there's no way around it. Like Bondo, even heated up, it doesn't really like to move a whole lot. So this fender isn't the greatest. You know, there's a little chunk out of here, but still from, you know, from like, even from 5 feet away, it doesn't look too bad. You can't really tell. If we go over to this side didn't have Bondo, and this side turned out really good. So no cracking of the paint, full heat gun, pretty smooth roll. You guys remember I'm doing this with a mallet, so it's not a fender roller. The reason I don't use a fender roller is because these fenders are square, right? So with a fender roller, it has to be like a perfectly circular fender. I've tried it on one of these fenders, it does not work. So mallet is the only choice in my opinion. But yeah, clearly if you use a heat gun, you can do it pretty damn good. So I'm super happy with that. Luckily I didn't mess up the body on this thing. So that's all good. If you guys are wondering the specs on these wheels, I think I said it earlier in the video, they are 15x8, 0 offset. And if you combine that with the 32mm adapter spacer that I have to run to run these, I hear a lot of guys asking like, where do you find all your sick wheels? Well, 5x114 and 5x4.5 is what that is, and 5x4 3/4, which is Chevy bolt pattern. All those cars, you can get all the cool muscle car wheels from the 80s, 90s, 70s, and that kind of thing, right? I'm not too sure what era these wheels were in, but they're center line, so this is a type of wheel someone would run on, you know, their old Camaro or something back in the day, in the 90s. So yeah, you never, you know, there's really not a whole lot of options for 5x108. So I would say one of the best things to do is just get yourself a set of these adapter spacers. I really like the wide look, and that's going to help you with that. So it adapts it to a bolt pattern where you can actually find cool wheels, and it also, you know, spaces out your car. So that's a really cool thing. Actually, I took it for a drive last night and I cleaned out the engine bay. There's a lot of dust and rubbish in here. So I took a pressure washer to it. Looks pretty damn clean actually. So eventually I'm going to be painting this valve cover to match the body. That'll look pretty clean. I might actually, so this car has an IPD turbo cam in it right now. I might just for fun one of these days slap the K cam in it, and we'll see how it feels. Maybe if I'm lucky, I could pay Dan at Post Haste Performance, and we could toss it on the dyno and maybe do like a quick kind of like dyno video, see on stock LH 2.2 management what makes more power, a K cam or an IPD turbo cam. You know, stock 13C turbo, it's not going to be crazy, but that's that. So this car is still stock boost. It has old gas in it. Lawrence just let me know that it was in February, I think, the last time he filled this up, so that's like almost a whole year. Well, not quite, but getting pretty close. So I've been driving it around, but I have not gotten a boost yet. So I'm gonna, you know, run this whole tank out, and then I'm gonna fill it up with 94 octane, which is the best stuff we can get here in Canada. And then we'll be able to fiddle around with it, bump up the boost a bit, that kind of thing. But anyways, I'm pretty darn stoked, guys. Unfortunately, I found a couple little rust holes in the floor of this car, but you know, it's not enough to make me want to like abandon the project altogether. This thing is sweet. Oh, I think I forgot to show you guys this. While I was at it, I did the classic drifts and lifts mods with the Momo steering wheel and the Recaro seat. Oh man, the interior in this thing looks rad right now. So it's got full blue interior, and then it's got the red seat. I don't know, I'm just really digging it. It's pretty sweet. Definitely gonna keep these rear seats. I don't need to take those out. I've done all the gutting, the weight reduction that I want to. Driving this around, the clutch is starting to go, I think, so I might have to do a new clutch in it. I'm not too sure when I'm gonna start the big build of this car. It'll be a money thing, so hey, if you guys want to help me out with that, go to the Drifts and Lifts store right now. In the link to the store is in the description of this video. And get yourselves a Volvo Drift Pilsner shirt, or a Volvo Drift Lager, Volvo Drift Ale, or Volvo Drift Stout. That's a great way to support the channel, guys, and these designs are rad. There's me giving a thumbs up. 100% Giver Bud, 2.3 liters of displacement. It's a pretty big can, 2.3 liter can. Anyways, yeah, so we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out when we go. If I have to do a clutch, I might just pick up one off Rock Auto because they're really cheap. I can get them for, you know, 250 bucks. So I might just do that. It's really easy to change a clutch in one of these cars. And what I noticed is this tranny is getting pretty hard to get into first gear, as well as second. So, you know, it's got 420,000 K on it. I don't expect it to be perfect, but I have a really low kilometers M46 over there. So if I'm doing the clutch, I might as well just slap that in it, and then we'd be good to go. So anyways, guys, I think that's a wrap up of the video. Thanks for watching. This is how to make a Volvo look fucking gangster. There you go. All it takes is a little bit of low, a little bit of wheel, a little bit of spacer, and a little bit of fender roll. Basically, that's it. 740 is a boxy 80s looking car, but once you have it on some wheels and lowered, it looks freaking sweet. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, obviously I cut 2 springs off the front and 2 springs off the rear. They were lowering springs front and rear, but I figured, you know, 2 springs was a good kind of, you know, like even the lowering springs, they never go low enough for me. So sitting perfect, I'm happy with it, we're good to go. All right guys, so that's a wrap up. I will see you guys next time. And yeah, like and subscribe for corn-fed Volvo beef. Peace out.